Hello, it's Saturday, August 27th. Being a Saturday, you can find all my work over at dailyfantasycafe.com in the baseball forum and on Twitter, DF Cafe as well. Again, a very quiet, weather-wise evening and afternoon for baseball games with no expectations for delays or postponements. This is good because it's helping me prepare for the NFL season, which everyone I'm sure is highly anticipating as we get closer to it. I brought up this map of the southern New England area that to show that there's going to be a much different air mass in place this evening than it was last evening. Last evening we saw a warm and humid air mass with little or no wind, and balls were just flying out of the park in the first inning against Stephen Wright. Well, obviously Stephen Wright had something to do with that, but the atmospheric conditions had something to do with it as well. I was listening to the game as I was driving around, and Joe Castiglione, the Red Sox announcer, was talking about how the balls were just carrying. That Alex Gordon's home run was probably, if the wind was blowing in, if it wasn't as warm and as humid, was probably caught. And Eric Hosmer's home run was also a ball that carried over the monster as a left-handed batter. So you know that, yeah, he hit the ball well, but usually you need some help if you hit it to the opposite field in terms of atmospheric conditions, and he certainly had that. Obviously, Stephen Wright coming back from the first game with injury had something to do that as well. He was probably a little rusty, and the balls were up. But I'm getting off topic. Tonight, what we're going to have going on, and this is for 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I was trying to see if they had like a wind direction thing for this model that I use, but I don't see it, so I just use the temperature. We can see we have a sea breeze going on. Last night, temperatures were in probably the low 90s, right around 90 to start. Tonight's game's going to start, and if we go to, let's see, what time is this? 9, there's 8, there's 7, there's around the start time. You can see the temperatures right at the ocean are only in the low 70s, while inland they're about, let me get back to that, inland, let's see, now I gotta try to make sure it doesn't move. Here you go. Inland 30 miles, it's only in the upper 70s. So Fenway Park is somewhere in between that, like right there. Temperatures will only be in the mid 70s to start. That's about 15 degrees cooler than it was last night. Balls will not be carrying as well just because of the temperature. And the other thing, the wind's going to be blowing in from right, an easterly wind off the ocean, and that's going to help keep the temperatures down, keep the balls from carrying as much as they do last night. And we have quite the pitcher's duel to begin with in Kansas City with Danny Duffy and David Price. And to keep in mind, both teams are fighting for playoff position. So the whole point of this, runs are probably going to be at a premium as compared to last night or compared to anything. And last night it wasn't a ton of runs, it ended up being 6-2, but I don't even expect 8 runs to be scored tonight. That's the long-winded weather report there in Boston, and as you can tell, Boston is first and foremost in my mind. That's where I'm from, and the Red Sox are my favorite team, so I keep an eye on that closely. Uh, let's go back to something. Chicago and Detroit will see some rain there tonight. I'm going to bring up Detroit's. Actually, they'll see some rain there this afternoon. This is 4 o'clock in the Detroit area right here. A heavy line of thunderstorms going through. That game isn't until 7 o'clock, and if we fast forward 3 hours, you can see that the thunderstorms are in the process of leaving that region. So that's why I didn't write them up or show them in the forecasting analysis. And the same basic idea goes with Chicago. They'll see some thunderstorms today, but as we get closer to game time, here's 1 o'clock. If we go a little bit earlier, that's 11 a.m. a few hours from now, or actually about an hour from now. They're seeing some rain now, but by this evening, this is what the radar should look like. That basically there is some stuff around, and I'll have to keep an eye on it, but more likely than not, it's not going to be affected. Let's go back to the weather report, see what games. I like Miami and San Francisco helping the pitcher. I also mentioned Boston, though Boston Fenway Park is obviously a great hitter's park to begin with, but just tonight it's not as great as it usually was. Some parks that do favor the hitters. Washington and New York is a day game. Toronto, day game with the roof open. Watch for a lot of runs there. Arizona, the roof may or may not be open. I haven't followed it closely enough to see how they've been handling it because all the atmospheric conditions are about the same every evening. Temperatures in the mid to upper 90s to begin the game with. falling to below the threshold of 95 degrees that I think they use for depending if the roof is open or not. So I'm not sure exactly how they handle that. St. Louis, Texas, Milwaukee, and Houston. Note that Houston roof will be closed. Milwaukee, the roof will likely be open. But still, those are parks that favor the hitter. That's it, what I got for you today. Again, just be interesting to see how many runs scored in Boston. Well, you may say it's Danny Duffy versus David Price. That's going to keep the runs down right away. I tend to agree with that, but even the atmospheric conditions even more strongly favor the pitcher tonight, just simply being David Price versus Danny Duffy. Have a good one. Thanks. Bye.